So here I have the ANGLER by Dave at Stagehand Systems. This is a beta model that he, I believe, has just released and sent to a few folks to test. Sitting on top of it, I have an EV-ELX 112P. That's their slightly older model powered wood cabinet speaker. It's only 37 pounds. I'm going to demo this using this speaker because it's lighter weight and it's a little easier to move around. I just set my Danley SM80s on top of this and it held those very well. Even at full tilt, it puts the center of gravity dead on when angled down full. But I didn't want to adjust this while a speaker is on it with my SM80s. They're heavier and more expensive. So I just wanted to kind of go through and demonstrate how relatively easy it is to adjust while a speaker is sitting on this. I don't think that Dave designed these to primarily to be adjusted while a speaker is on top of them, but it's possible and it's not very difficult with a lightweight speaker. So we're sitting at 4-degree tilt, which is all the way forward. And it's relatively easy to adjust this down by lifting with your thumb at the back and sliding it back a notch. So you can do that pretty easily all the way to the rear end of the adjustment to 12 degrees. Now I had a hand on the handle of the speaker while I was doing that to make sure that it didn't go anywhere, but there's not really any chance that it would go anywhere unless the tripod itself lost its balance, because I can push this left and right, and the limits of how I've got these knobs loosened up just enough to allow it to slide is not going to let the speaker go more than a few degrees off of its tilt and shift its center of gravity significantly. Now with a heavier speaker, I would recommend taking it down just because it's a little more difficult to get some lift from your thumb or your hand. So I'm going to go back the other way, put my thumb at the back, slide it down, and I found it a little bit more difficult to only move one notch at a time going that direction, but that's not bad. You can always come back, put it into the position you want, and lock it down. Of course, when it's locked down, it's as snug as it will be. This is sitting on an Ultimate, one of the smaller Ultimate speaker stands, and these aluminum caps have way more play than the ANGLER. That has every position on this thing or every adjustable is very tight. This snugs down onto the speaker pole. I don't think there's really any play in that whatsoever because the speaker sits down onto this rubber pad. It's not really sitting, the weight is not on the pole that is in the center of this ANGLER. So it creates a very sturdy connection, sturdy base for the speaker. As I shift it around, you may see the speaker stand tilt and wobble, but not the ANGLER device. So to remove the speaker off, this ANGLER seems to grab the speaker a little more than a smooth speaker pole will, but it's not much work to remove the speaker. It says I, and then I can't do it. Try from this direction. Yeah, it's a little easier on the front side when the speaker's tilted towards you. But I like having that pretty snug pole fit into the pole socket. It was a very similar fit on the SM80s. Overall, I think this is a really solid product. It's the first thing that struck me when I opened the box and put a speaker on these things is I realized there's not really anything on this device to wear out. I suspect that this thing will be around long after I'm doing sound, long after any of the equipment that I might put on it, probably long after I'm around. And it's also fairly easy to just lift the speaker slightly to get it off the rubber pad to center the angle, the rotation left and right. For Dave, I don't really have any suggestions about how to improve this product. My only slight concern might be that this aluminum piece is threaded through, which are plenty of threads to bite into, but I could see potentially after lots of use those aluminum threads wearing out I would prefer to see, slot for a nut on this side, but Dave knows way more about machining and durability of these things than I do. So I'll defer to him on that. One of the things he mentioned, which I need to try out, is he mentioned adding a guide. He used a word for it. I don't know exactly what that word was. A guide to keep this top plate centered as you slide it back and forth. I don't know that that's, given the ease that I was able to adjust this with a speaker on top of it. Now it would have been a little more difficult with a heavier speaker, but I don't know if that's a problem. I haven't seen this get bound up in any way as I've moved it. It might make it feel a little more sturdy, or potentially remove the need to have the graduated positions, and maybe possibly be able to do continuous adjustment there if there was a guide to keep this centered. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I don't know if that would work well or not. So anyway, overall, great product. Here, very minor complaint. It's not been an issue so far, and that's the clearance on these knobs against the tube is very small, so it's hard to get a hand around them, get a good grip on them. But a little bit of tension on this really snugs the system up. There's no play or give in it, so very little tension goes a long way. Now, I guess if I were using these for a long time, if I had speakers set up for a while, I might put more tension on them to make sure that the vibrations from the speaker didn't loosen them up. And I've yet to use these in a live situation, so I'm not sure whether or not that would be an issue. I mean, I don't suspect it will be.